This is the brave new world of prestige yachts. The X70 may share the same hull and IPS engine options as the more formulaic Prestige 680 flybridge, but it is a completely different animal. With no side decks on the main deck, the cockpit in saloon can stretch the full width of the boat's 17.5-foot beam, and cockpit space? Well, it blows other boats in this sector out of the water. This boat, as tested, cost €3.4 million including VAT, but, unusually for a Prestige, standard equipment includes the likes of the hydraulic bathing platform, beach club and hardtop.
Now, though this boat shares a hull with the 680 and it also uses IPS pods, it feels quite different to drive. It's a heavier boat, it's about 45 tonnes loaded, and you feel that in the way it takes the water. It pushes through with real confidence, but it is more lethargic from the helm and it does tend to wallow more. There's more weight higher up on this boat, so it's slow speed in a swell like we've got today. We've had about a 1.5 metre swell. It can be a bit uncomfortable at slow speed, but to counter that there were two Seakeeper options. You can have a Seakeeper 9 or a Seakeeper 18, and though it's a very expensive option, around €150,000, I would opt for the 18 because it really helps to take the edge off. This boat's got a 4,000 litre fuel capacity, and you are going to find on nice days you want to go at displacement speed, and if it's a bit lumpier then the Seakeeper really helps keep the boat on the straight and narrow, and of course you will feel the benefit at anchor as well. Now, it's not a boat that's made for throwing around. It really is a straight line animal. The steering is very, very light, but it's quite numb, and the turning circle is quite wide. So it really is a boat where you're going to set the throttles and most likely the autopilot and just let the hull plough through, because the hull feels very solid. Down the interior there's a bit of squeaking coming from the furniture, but actually the hull feels nice and solid and ploughs through confidently. What about the physical driving position? Well, up here it's pretty good. The helm is really clearly laid out. The plotters aren't too much of a stretch away. All touchscreen, of course, completely configurable. I've got the chart plotter and the engine information here, but you can have the radar on here if you preferred. You've got a bank of rocker switches here to control the things that you use most regularly, and the throttle and the joystick both come to hand quite easily, and there's an adjustable wheel as well, so you can move that around if you need to. This seat, very comfortable. It is adjustable, though to slide it you have to undo a twisting mechanism, slide it and then do it up again. It would be easier if it was a proper sort of ratchet slide, but that's a small complaint. And it's nice to see that you've got a proper cup holder, and that's the horn, and you've also got a little area here that you can chuck phones and loose items. Let's talk about performance. There are two engine options on this boat. You can either have IPS 1200 or IPS 1350. 1200 has 900 horsepower per side and 1350 is 1000 horsepower per side, and personally I would opt for the larger engine option. The cost increase is negligible, and really you're going to want that extra oomph because, as I've already said, this is a heavy boat. This boat hasn't even got a tender on it and some sort of cruising kit that you might add if you were running this boat on your own. So I think really you're going to want that extra horsepower just to help the boat get out of troughs, just give you a bit more power when it chops up a bit. Top speed with the engines we've got, the 1350s, 28 knots. Cruising sweet spot is about 20 knots, where the boat's consuming around 220 litres an hour, giving you a range of around 350 nautical miles. Let's have a closer look at this rather novel deck arrangement then, shall we? I mean, this boat may share a hull with the 680, but from there upwards it's very, very different, and it feels a completely different boat once on board. And the other thing that Prestige has done with this range, in wanting to compete with the higher end brands Sunseeker, Princess, Azimuth, Ferretti, they want to include a more comprehensive standard spec. So for example, this hydraulic bathing platform is a standard feature. It's not an option. You have steps built into it as well, so when it drops you get a stairway down into the water. The beach club is standard. The cushions are extra, but the folding platform is standard, and you also have a Fusion stereo system in there, waterproof speaker system in there, so you can have some music down here. The other thing you have is an overhead shower, so that slots in there, comes up overhead, so you have a proper stand-up shower. It would be quite nice to have a deck shower as well if you don't want to go to the hassle of installing that, but still it's a nice option to have. And then as you move up into the cockpit, this is where you really notice the difference on this boat. A traditional flybridge boat would be maybe 80% interior on the main deck and 20% exterior. This is pretty much 50-50, 50% cockpit space, 50% saloon space. And the other thing about this area is it's completely modular. You can change the position of the furniture. Yes, it's fixed, but when you're speccing the boat, you can put it in any position you want, really. This island comes as standard, but you can delete it if you want and just have a bit more open space here. Alternatively, you could move this table inside the saloon, and then you have the island a bit further forward. And what is quite nice is that both of these are just weighted, so you can lift them off, you can move them around on this area, or you can lift them up and put them at the end of the sofa to become armrests. So that's quite a flexible addition. What else? We have a nice low slung seating on either side. There's storage under here, 4 C-bobs, one on each side as well, so they tuck away under there. Same over on this side. We'll just move these cushions, lift up, and there you go, there's another one. Now you have twin staircases up to the flybridge. Not something you'd expect to see on a boat of this size. It's a nice feature, feels sort of super yachty. However, you can lose this staircase and replace it with a wet bar if you prefer, and that would give you the ability to serve guests from outside here. You wouldn't have to go back inside to the galley, because you can have a grill out here, a sink and a fridge, so you can serve people from out here as well. Under here you have a sunshade, so this is a piece of canvas that pulls down, and it can even go straight down and connect to the deck here to give you a bit of privacy, or you can stretch it out over this seating area, and then there are poles that slot in on either side, one here, one on the other side, so then you have a nice big canopy to give you some shade over this area if you want it. It's also worth noting that there's some storage under here as well for the life raft. Now now we're up here on the flybridge, and as you can see, this is where your side decks are, and this is how you move right forward to the bow. Backbridge if you want to. And just like downstairs, this whole area is modular, so you can move this bar area if you want. If you want to sink in it, you have to have it here, because this is where the plumbing is. But if you just want the grill, you can position it pretty much anywhere on this deck, wherever you want. You can delete it completely, or you could move it here. At the moment, this is storage in this locker, and a cooler in this one. But you could get rid of that, and you can have the bar there instead. Equally, you could move the table and have that at the back of the boat as well, and just turn this into a big seating area. So they've really gone for flexibility and customization on this boat, so you can make the layout work for however you like to use the boat. Forward here you have some seating, again there's some storage easily accessed underneath here. Just pull up the seat base, and then you have the upper helm station with a couple of very stylish, fully adjustable lessons only chairs. Now the hardtop. This is standard, as is the sunroof. It's a standard fit item, which is supported here at the front by these good protection. And the other thing you can do is, using plastic, you can completely enclose this area so that you can use it as another living area even in the winter. But like it is today, you can open it all up and you get the benefit of exposure to the elements. So we'll carry on from this deck forward. And here you have a side door which gives you access back into the saloon, adjacent to the helm. It's in a really useful position for the skipper to be able to get out, communicate with crew and help with lines and fenders. We'll look at that in more detail later on. You move forward and you're onto the bow area, which is completely flat. You know, you haven't got a sofa area on this boat, you haven't got a table because it's raised up. You just haven't got the space to do that. So they've gone for this sort of chill out area. These are an option, quite an expensive one, about on a really hot day. If you move forward, you have your anchor roller, you have your windlass, you have your ground tackle, and 2 enormous anchor lockers. You can see the chain is separated over into that one. You've got really good deep space to put fenders, and it's very deep, but they have at least put this bar here so you can tie fenders to here so they don't fall all the way in to the void. Put that back down. So we'll head back down the port side and we will look at the interior. Very easy boat to move around actually. Nice shallow steps and good thick stainless banisters here on these stairways as well. The aim of this main deck is to have one unbroken living space, so they wanted everything to merge into each other really seamlessly, so you have completely flat threshold between the cockpit and the saloon, and you have the galley amidships, which is not something that Prestige typically do. Generally they have their galleys aft, certainly on the traditional flybridge sports cruiser lines, but they wanted to make sure that there was a great connection between the indoor and the outdoor. So they've put the lounge aft on this boat, and actually it works really, really well. And you also notice that greater attention to detail and the focus on quality, you really do notice that in here. There's little things like the fact the furniture is of a really high standard, really good to look at. It's imported from Italy, it's not made in the factory. They've really worked to try to elevate how things look and feel. Even down to the fact that you've got this sort of relief pattern here on this galley unit, and there's backlighting in there as well. You know, you haven't just got plain pieces of timber here. They're interesting, they're better to look at, and you have electronic blinds as standard. The other thing you have in here is electric windows. Again, these are a standard feature, so you can drop these down. You have them on both sides, so you can get some natural breeze flowing through here without having to resort to the air conditioning. And you also have, because of the side door, you have some breeze coming in forward as well. Another thing you have, as I said, is electric blinds. So you have a control, and then you can just push a button and they all come down on both sides. And you can also adjust their angle, so you can put them right down and then open them a bit as well. But we'll put those back up for now. Again, ordinarily that wouldn't be a standard feature on a Prestige, but they have tried to up the standard spec. And up it goes. And another nice addition back here is an extra little Raymarine MFD just inside the door. Now it's most used for ship control, so you have all of the boat systems here at your fingertips. Quite nicely, you've got a little picture of the X72, but it is a properly legitimate little MFD, so you have access to cartography, radar. You can see it all from this little screen here, just to make quick checks if you don't want to have to go up to the helm. But most people will use this for ship control. And it's a good place to have it. So we'll move forward and have a closer look at the galley. High-end appliances on here, again upping the quality. Miele induction hob, 4-burner, Miele oven down here, and the same huge fridge, really good size. That is going to be very handy if you're staying on board for longer stints. You have some bespoke storage here for cutlery, and there's more storage underneath the counter here as well. It's quite nice how it faces out into the saloon, so you can prepare drinks or food and line them up on this bar to your guests who are either sitting in the saloon here or out in the cockpit. But again, this is why I think the wet bar out there will be popular. It just means that you can serve people in the cockpit a bit more easily than from in here. And then if we move forward, we're up a couple of steps and you're to the lower helm. I like these two positions either side so that people can sit and keep the skipper company, because there is only a single helm chair. Comfortable as it is, there isn't space for somebody else to sit, so it's nice to have these. And this is a really clean, classy looking helm with the 3 screens sprouting out from the top there. Again, you can configure them however you wish, but this is quite a nice setup with the engine information, your chart, and the camera. Really high quality camera feed as well, and you have a camera looking forward too, but you could have the radar on there, for example, if you wanted to. And you've got the Volvo Penta screen down here as well, so you can feed engine information to that too. Got a bit of ventilation up here, so you can get some natural breeze coming in over the helm station. And then again, we see the helm door in a really good position to get out onto the side decks. Now accommodation is split on this boat, and the master cabin is here forward on the main deck in a similar layout to the 680, but it is a little bit different in here. You have this intrusion overhead because of the helm station being overhead, but actually headroom is really good around the end of the bed, so it only sort of drops down in a place where you'd be sitting anyway, sitting at the end of the bed, so you can move around in here really comfortably. Really lovely thick carpet, flat floor as well, so it's easy to move around on. Lots of storage dotted along here. You have a little sofa here and a bureau as well, which is quite a nice touch. And then a huge walk-in wardrobe for this size of boat, with a variety of storage options and a safe. That's quite a luxurious touch. And a very pleasant bathroom. Nice finish in here as well. And you have a separate shower cubicle with a rain shower fitting Headroom equally good in here, plenty of space above my head as a 6-footer. And Tecmar toilets, again high-end components. They've really tried to push the feeling of luxury aboard this boat. And you've got a little bit more storage out here if the walk-in wardrobe isn't enough. Some storage space in there as well. As we come back up through here, there's more storage on the right hand side. You also have a wine fridge on the way through. And that means that guest accommodation is down here off the saloon to starboard. Wind back on yourself, and actually the staircase is in a different position to on the 680, so they've managed to get more space in this VIP cabin. On the 680 the staircase gobbles up a bit more room over on this side, but they've managed to rework it so now you get the bureau facing out through the window and you have this wardrobe on this side as well. This is a really luxurious cabin. Guests will be very, very happy in here. This is en suite, not quite as spacious as the master, but still very nicely finished, and also has a separate shower cubicle of its own. Now this boat's got the 4-cabin layout, so it's got 2 twins opposite, and you can actually put a section down here and slide these berths together. On this side you have identical, but you could also have a full beam double cabin here if you wanted, so you could lose both of these and have one big cabin instead. Depending on how you use the boat, how many guests you tend to have, that's a nice option to have. And this twin, it isn't en suite, but it's right next door to the day heads here. So this is the toilet that the guests will come down and use in the day. Very close to this cabin. Now there are 2 access points to the engine room aboard this boat. You can go through the staircase on the transom and via the crew cabin, which we'll look at in a second, but I'm going to go down through the deck hatch here. This is a really fantastic engine room. Headroom is really, really impressive, and it's very clean, very well organised and very easy to get to everything. This has got the largest IPS 1350s. The pod drives are under here. You have to get to them through the floor in the crew cabin. You have the fuel tanks on either side. Nice that you have sight gauges as well, so you can see the fuel level. Twin Raycore fuel filters here, which you can switch over, so if one's blocked you can automatically switch over to another one, so you can keep the fuel going through the system. And it's nice that they've stacked the generator and the Seakeeper on top of each other. They're out the way, easy to get to though as well. And that's the ladder, which you can actually take out, so you can remove the ladder to give you better access to the Seakeeper. But it's a really nice surprise down here, not only in how neat and tidy it is, but also the amount of space. And the other point to note is that you can get through to the crew cabin from here. Through this door, push that open, and you're into the crew space. Turn some lights on. So here is the door that's set into the steps at the transom. And then through here, well, this is the cabin itself. It's full of stuff at the moment, apologies for that, but you can get an idea of the space. And from here the crew have excellent access into the engine room. Thank you very much for watching our review of the Prestige X70. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please do give us a like, and please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're alerted every time we upload a new video. Thanks very much for watching.